we ready?
Hey, yeah, I'm ready.
Go for it.
All right. We did it again. Yep.
Oh, we did it again. We did it again.
Yep.
There's the third that we multiplied. There's a third one of us now.
Yeah.
Mitosis, or however that works.
Yeah. This is a feature where we watch two movies, whether they have the same trope or genre, plot, etc., vibe, and we talk about them. Yeah. And today we are talking about Clueless and Emma as far as like adaptations. I'm Renee.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Ellery.
Our special guest.
I'm not usually here.
No, this is our roommate.
I'm also a producer on the podcast. I came up with the schedule for this season, so
true.
That's me. Unless you don't like it, in which case I don't know that guy.
I don't know that guy.
Ellery has got lots of shout-outs on the show.
What are you, a Jungle Cruise worker?
What?
They say that on the Jungle Cruise,
like a skipper?
Yeah, they're like, oh, my name is blank, unless you didn't like the cruise, in which case my name is blank. It's like a joke,
so
very
true.
common joke they make.
Anyway.
That is true.
Anyway, yeah.
So I'm basically a Jungle Cruise skipper.
Yeah,
you're the conclusion here.
That's our special guest. There's a Jungle Cruise skipper.
Yes.
For legal reasons, I do not work at Disneyland.
No, I used to.
Do you want to talk about Emma and Clueless and why you wanted to talk about them?
Oh, sure, yeah. I think, because you hadn't ever seen either of them, but you had seen both, right? Yeah, okay.
I'd seen Clueless.
Oh, okay,
You showed me Clueless.
That's so true! I did show you. Anyway, so Clueless and Emma are both book-to-film adaptations of the original novel Emma by Jane Austen. There had been previous adaptations, pretty straight. I know there's one with Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, in the 90s, also just titled Emma. But I prefer the 2020 version with Anya Taylor-Joy. And then Clueless is an adaptation in the grand 90s tradition of adapting classic literature into high school teen movies. Bring that genre back.
Bring that genre back.
Where
did it go?
Anyway, so today we're talking about film or lit-to-film adaptations and how they change and what they change and why they change certain aspects, especially with the setting change here is going to be the biggest one. And how they're able to map the politics of 17th century England onto a 90s American high school.
This is a stupid question. Have you read Emma?
No, I haven't actually.
I guess it wasn't a stupid question.
I've read other Jane Austen, but I haven't read Emma actually. Okay. So maybe I should have done that before we did this.
We watch movies here.
We watch movies here.
Yeah.
But I haven't read any Jane Austen books, so you're more knowledgeable than I am.
I've read Pride and Prejudice, yeah.
So real.
You're also more knowledgeable than I am.
Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. But I read them when I was like in middle school, which should I have been doing that? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. Point is, it's been a while.
It's been a longer time for me who has never read them.
Yeah, it's been never.
It's been never, non-existent.
Yeah.
And this is my first time watching the 2020 version of Emma, or really any version of Emma that wasn't Clueless.
So what did you think of Emma?
I mean, it's definitely not my favorite period piece that I've watched.
What is your favorite period piece?
Probably Crimson Peak.
Okay, you're very different.
Count of Monte Cristo?
Oh, wow.
No, it probably is Crimson Peak, but Count of Monte Cristo is like a close second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also really like specifically the 2002 version of Count of Monte Cristo with Guy Pearce, and also
2005. Is it 2002?
It is 2002. Did I say 2005?
No, you said 2002, but I thought it was 2005.
Oh no, it's 2002.
Okay.
It came out the year I was born. And who else is in that movie?
Henry Cavill?
Yes, Henry Cavill.
Tiny baby Henry. He's like
so baby.
16 years old.
He looks nothing like he does now.
Well, he looks like exactly the same, which is crazy that people are just
bonkers.
born looking like that. Like that's congrats, man.
Congrats.
Like wow.
How do you come out of the room with a Chad jawline?
Yeah.
It's like confusion because he has such a baby face, but his jawline is like 90 degrees.
Yeah. But like
Anyway.
he has like the eyelashes in the eyes. So.
Anyways, point is that those are probably my favorite period pieces. Is
Yeah.
Count of Monte Cristo.
And this is very
Crimson
different
Peak.
than
both of those. Yes.
It's very,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a much lighter tone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much lighter, much. It's like Jane Austen is kind of a slice of life author, which is like a weird way to describe her, but I feel like that's how to best translate the tone and the subject matter. Not that it's like frivolous in any way. A lot of the time, at the time, she was criticized for being a frivolous author, which I think is a gross misunderstanding of what she was writing about and why. But it is, the stakes are real life stakes, and therefore not particularly dramatic, or like they don't lend themselves to those sweeping sagas that you really like.
Yeah, you also know that I'm not the biggest fan of the Pride and Prejudice that everyone loves. I think it's 2005. Pride
With
and
Keira
Prejudice.
Knightley?
Yeah, everyone loves it. Everyone is in love with the Mr. Darcy in that movie. I think he's got weird hair, and I think he's kind of ugly.
He looks weird. That's just Mr. Darcy.
That's part of it. Is that he's weird.
He's weird. I guess I am the girl in this because he's weird, he's ugly, and he's rude, and I don't like
that's
him.
That's so wow. Lizzie coded. Actually, that's so funny.
Yeah. I don't like him. Everyone loves him, and I'm like, I don't get it.
You've just yet to go through your Pride and Prejudice arc.
I guess
it will happen.
It will happen. I guess, but we're not talking about Pride and Prejudice today. We're talking about Emma.
We're talking about Emma,
which I did like more than Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, I think so. I liked a lot of the visual aspects of this version of it. The costuming was great. The
putting a pin in costuming, because we're going to come back to that.
We're going to come back to that. Oh, I have things to say. I really love the white and green dress that she wears towards the end. She gets proposed in, and she is like bleeding from her nose. And I'm like, is she dying? Are you good? It's really good. That's my favorite outfit.
Especially with all the greenery around them, because they're standing under that tree.
That's very pretty. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I've been talking for too long. Someone else talk.
I feel like usually I have one that I feel stronger about, and just like as a fan of period pieces, I like Emma more. But Clueless is like a classic. It's just really well done and just like a really smart adaptation.
And Clueless in its own way now is a period piece.
Yeah, that's so true.
Not in like the same way because it was contemporary at the time, but you know, it's been 35 years.
Yeah, it wasn't designed as a period piece in the same way that.
But to us it is, because we weren't alive then.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
This is one of the costume. This is the main costume thing that I want to say. I think it's so funny in Clueless how they cut to the girl who is clueless that they take under their wing, right? And she's wearing, like, by today's standards, a very normal and like popular outfit. It's very grunge casual style, which is like the normal style by today's standards. And you cut back to all the popular girls and they're in the weirdest clothes and it's so funny, and they're like, oh, she's so clueless, she has no idea. And I'm like, girl,
that's intentional, and I'm putting a pin in that also. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic of costuming.
Oh, so real. I'm taking the pin out.
Yeah, there's no reason. I was going to say there's no reason to put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Just talk about it.
I just had to remember. So Clueless and Emma are both so interesting to me in terms of costuming for very widely different reasons. And I wish I could remember the names of the costumers. I didn't take notes, which I should have. But I know for Emma 2020 specifically, they did a lot of recreations. That pink coat with the like loopies on the front. I don't know how to describe things in any technical way. The long pink coat is actually a direct recreation of a real Regency coat that's currently in a museum. And they did that a lot. They stuck really, really closely to a lot of Regency silhouettes, and also the hair with those really, really tight curls near the front. And a lot of period pieces, especially Jane Austen pieces, will lean very far away from those sensibilities because it looks like really silly by today's standards.
Yeah.
But I love that they leaned into it because you don't get to see that very often. And we were talking a lot last night about whimsy and like how to bring whimsy back into movies.
But we were talking about that in relation to Tinkerbell.
But I swear I have a point here. Being able to like do all the pomp and circumstance and the like high collars and the wacky hairdos that are really tall, all that I think contributes to this sense of like whimsy and kind of puts us into Emma's shoes, because she is, I think, only 22. And even though by those societal standards, she's like kind of on the way out in terms of being young or like a bachelorette, she's still very immature. Mm-hmm. So I think it gives us a visual sense of her world while also remaining so accurate to the time period. I just feel like they hit the nail on the head with that. I'm also such a fan of like historical costuming in general. And then on the flip side with Clueless, they, like in the script and in the costuming, weren't trying to emulate any specific trends. So the slang that they use is created in the same way that the slang in Heathers is created, so it doesn't date the movie. And they did that a lot with fashion as well. Cher and Dion wear designer pieces, but they also wear stuff that's thrifted and stuff that they had altered. And fashion is so important to creating the look of Clueless, and they were trendsetters because they weren't following any particular trend. In the 90s, the trends were inspired by Clueless, as opposed to Clueless being inspired by trends, which is how most contemporaneous movies are fashioned. So I think that's so interesting. Mm-hmm. That's so cool. And also every day I think about Cher's closet. Every day I think about Cher's closet.
Are you talking about
where
the computer?
She puts the little outfits in, and it's like mismatch, or like, I think that's so fun.
It's so good. It's so Sharpay Evans.
It's so Sharpay Evans.
I've seen people on TikTok make like a paper version of that.
Oh, yeah.
Where they take pictures of like all of the outfits, and then they're able to just like put it on a little picture of themselves to see what it looks like.
I love, we've taken so many steps and we've circled all the way back to paper dolls. Like, that's so funny.
Back around to paper dolls.
In the true cyclical nature of time. We're just recreating paper dolls.
We just go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Those are my thoughts on costuming immediately. I might come up with something again later. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
The thing that most struck me about Emma, and I remember watching it and I was like, this is altering my brain chemistry right now, is the line, if I loved you less, I could talk about it more. And when we watched this, like, months ago, we both were going insane waiting for that line.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because that's from the book.
Because that's from the book. That line is so good. It hits so hard. Mm-hmm. Ugh. And just, and that whole scene is just awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know the nosebleed that she has during the proposal, that wasn't in the script originally. That was an Anya Taylor-Joy thing. Because she gets nosebleeds and she can like feel them happening, or it might be that she can cause them to happen, but anyway, they were filming that scene and she was like, I think I'm gonna have a nosebleed, can I have a nosebleed? And they were like, yeah, because this is the moment when Emma's perfect image cracks. Mm-hmm. When she like can't do the right thing. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Don't touch the table.
I'm normal. It's so good.
If you touch the table, we will hear it.
Mic.
Yeah,
so real.
Yeah. We've learned this lesson already.
I'm sorry, listeners.
I know that when you were watching Clueless, you talked about the comparison between the yearbook photo and the painting.
Oh yeah, so I was talking about how surprised mostly when I was watching Emma, because I had never seen any adaptation of the book. I didn't know what happened in the book, and I was just surprised by just how much Clueless is able to keep from the book. Like, I know it's obviously it's an adaptation of the book, so it's gonna have a lot of stuff in common with it, but stuff like how they adapted Emma painting a portrait of I don't know any of their names. Harriet
in Emma and Ty in Clueless.
Yeah, this is the thing, is they change everyone's names, and I'm like, now
except for Elton. Elton's the
same.
same.
Except for Elton, and now I have to keep track of 2 sets of names, and that's too much.
Do you need a spreadsheet?
I might. It's too late now. But how they adapt her painting the portrait of Harriet into her taking the photo, like, I was just surprised by just like, oh, that's really clever how you change that, or how they change like the dance at the ball to a dance at a party, which like it all still reads like it belongs in the movie that it's in. Like all of the Regency stuff is like, oh yeah, this makes sense culturally because dancing is very important to courting and that sort of thing, because it's the only time people are able to talk. But then you put the dance in modern context, it's like, yeah, it's still embarrassing to sit by yourself and not have anyone to dance with at a party. Like it doesn't.
And it's a house party, and so like that's still very culturally important to American teens in the 90s.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like this is clearly a thing they've taken from a Regency cultural context.
Yeah, and none of it really feels that way except for, like...
Are we going to talk about the elephant in the room now?
What?
What's the elephant?
What are you going to talk about?
The fact that they're step-siblings.
That's what I was going to say, but that is something...
We'll come back to it.
We'll put a pin in that one.
Yeah.
I was going to say the manufactured shenanigans, which, like, people don't... like, write shenanigans like they used to. Like,
That's so
when
true.
we saw Anyone But You, we were talking about how, like, the whole forcing them together and, like, the lying and, like, everyone else around them manufacturing this environment. And Cher and Emma sort of, you know, putting people together. Because, like, with the teachers, it, of course, sets a precedent for Emma's character later on. But it just... I don't know if I've seen that in any other, like, high school era movie.
Usually it's, if anything, the people they're matchmaking are still high school students.
Yeah.
I think it's... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, that one movie we watched, that was a remake of another movie where he goes, la 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 la. Do you know what I'm talking about? What? Yes. What is it?
Oh, is it, He's All That?
I think so. It's either He's All That or She's All That.
Well, She's All That is the original, and He's All That is the remake of the original, which are still both adaptations.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where they have this, like, they take this person who they deem is ugly,
and
then
they have a pet.
They have a pet, and they make it a project. I think there's another one that's also like that somehow, but I don't remember.
Are you thinking of Not Another Teen Movie?
Maybe.
Where they spoof She's All That?
I don't know what I'm thinking.
We gotta move on.
But it's usually nobody writes comedy of errors like Shakespeare. Like you watch a normal movie and everything like makes sense, and you watch a Shakespeare adaptation and it's like this guy is in love with this girl, so he's gonna get this guy that's also in love with this girl to do this thing for him so that this original guy can get with this girl. But then over on the flip side, her sister, like there's like a million things happening.
Everybody is in cahoots with everybody else for 100 different reasons.
Yeah.
Everybody else has their own wants and specific relationships with everyone around them.
And their agendas.
So they can manipulate each other to get what they want.
Yeah.
And it's so great.
And it's so smart and clever.
This is why we need more teenage Shakespeare adaptations. Bring those back.
Jane Austen too.
Jane Austen as well. Jane Austen as well, because they...
a similar way. Not to the extent that Shakespeare does hilarious comedy of errors shenanigans. Jane Austen does them on a much smaller scale.
Enough so that it makes sense, I think, is the thing.
Enough so that it's a lot easier to follow without a baseline knowledge of the story already. I feel like that's the challenge with Shakespeare adaptations, is you have to do so much, and you can either assume that everybody is familiar with this text, which you could do for like a Romeo and Juliet, but not necessarily like a Taming of the Shrew. I don't know that everybody who watched 10 Things I Hate About You had a baseline knowledge of Taming of the Shrew, so then you're doing all of this legwork to figure out how do we make this clear in an hour and a half as opposed to a 5-act play.
And they did it.
But they did it.
10 Things I Hate About You is great.
Classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Well, we should go back to the elephant. We have to address the elephant.
Because what is exactly the relationship in Emma? In the original?
They're still related through marriage.
Okay.
So I don't think they're biologically related, but I think they're first cousins through marriage. And I'm gonna double check that.
I can tell you because I was just watching it. In the 2020 Emma, there's a point where they're like at a dance and she's like, I want you to ask me to dance, and she says, we're not so much brother and sister that it would be improper. And I was like, the fact that you have to like put that line out there is bad enough.
Well, it's
crazy.
Okay. He's her brother-in-law, is what I have figured out. And I can't remember how their siblings are married. But that's not even, like, as close as I feel like step-siblings are. Even though they take so many degrees to be like, oh, well, their parents were only married for a couple of years, and they're divorced now.
Yeah, and both of their parents have moved on.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know if they say this, but they're married when they're older, so they weren't, like, being raised together.
Yeah. That's still worse.
Yeah. But
I think.
her dad is so real, though, because he, like, keeps the son around, and he's like, you divorce spouses, not children. And I'm like,
that's...
Points
that's
to
awesome.
him.
But I think that makes their relationship even worse.
Yeah, because it negates the fact that they're not raised together.
Yeah.
They're still, for a lot of the movie, living in the same house.
And also the dad is, like, giving knowing looks like they're gonna end up together. And it's like,
No.
He's also an adult.
Yeah.
More things that make this complicated and weird and bad is that in Clueless, Cher is 16 and he's in college.
Yeah.
Do we know his
bad.
age?
I don't remember. I don't think he's a freshman.
I think he is a freshman.
Is he a freshman?
Yeah, because she's sort of making fun of him about being in college and like, oh, you've changed so much to be like so pretentious so quickly.
Oh, so real because he grows that goatee.
Yeah. So I think he's either
Anyway.
he's an underclassman. Yeah.
He's definitely an underclassman,
Yeah.
but he's still a legal adult and she is a teenager.
Yeah.
But then in Emma is 22 and Mr. Knightley is, I don't know, also an adult. There's probably a weird age gap there, but again, it was not weird at the time. It was very, very common, especially for British, I don't want to call them all aristocracy because a lot of Jane Austen's heroines are like middle class and the class tensions there are very much a part of the narrative.
Just society.
Yeah, but British society, to marry your first cousin, your second cousin, keep it within the family, specifically for inheritance, because that was the only way you could hold on to your money, your estate, was to literally keep it in the family. Okay, Mr. Krabs. And on top of all of that, on top of it being a preservation of wealth, they didn't understand scientifically why an intermarriage by people so genetically related could be bad. They didn't have the scientific understanding to be like, maybe we should not do an incest because that's going to be bad for our children. So societally, it's accepted. Scientifically, they have no reason not to. And so it's at the time a culturally accepted norm even.
Yeah.
But then in the 90s, when we've outgrown all of that, you don't need to marry in your family to keep your wealth. Cher has a ton of generational wealth. It's made very clear.
And she is like the main person who's going to get her father's
She is
inheritance.
the
She's the
heiress
only kid.
because it's the 90s and now she can inherit. And scientifically, we've passed all the Gregor Mendel stuff centuries ago. We know that they should not do this.
Yeah. So what relationship would you want them to have before?
I want them to be like childhood neighbors. Like they grew up near each other, they grew up together, but they're not related in any way. They're just very close.
I was saying that they have the perfect excuse of the fact that he is the dad's like intern and like working on this case with him. There's no reason to make them even slightly related because he already needs to be around the house because he's working on this case with her father.
Yeah. And it could be, he doesn't have to be in college for that either. He could be a high schooler doing it for his resume for college applications.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just solved it.
We solved
it. Yeah.
And now, Aaron gets really off topic.
We gotta stop making movies with weird relationships. This was
Then where's the conflict? The idea
Any other way.
The idea of it just came out, guys. We're in the era of weird relationships.
Any other way. This is the third day in a row where I've watched a movie where they had a weird relationship. Yesterday was Clueless, today was Emma, and then the day before that was Suzume, the anime movie where she falls in love with a chair. But that's not the weird part. The chair is not the weird part.
Somehow.
The weird part is that she's 17 and he's 21, and there's no reason for him to be 21. Stop doing that.
That's weird. Legally, it's weird. Developmentally, it's weird.
Wait, when did they make that movie?
Like very recently.
Oh,
like
okay.
so recently.
No, because it's very right now is the era of romance with inanimate objects.
I'm pretty sure that Suzume started that a little bit. Like, started the recent popularity. Because everyone was like, it's so funny, she's falling in love with a chair. And I was like, you're so right, that is really funny.
Well, because now there's the romance with the door. And there's also the book about the pillow.
Well, those are books.
What?
Yeah.
Those are books that are written by, like, amateur authors who write fanfiction.
Yeah, but, like...
But still.
But it's still in the zeitgeist.
It is in the zeitgeist.
Yeah. The zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist of falling in love with inanimate objects. Mm-hmm. It's really funny.
So crazy.
And at the very least, all those books are, like, from my understanding, it's like really overly sexual for some reason, which is like weird because it's an object.
That's also just in the zeitgeist now.
Yeah, just true.
For better, but mostly for worse. I will go on record saying I think it's causing a lot of issues.
Yes. But at the very least, Suzume is not very sexual at all. It's mostly about them, like, fighting curses and stuff. The romance is, like, very secondhand.
That's so funny. How does he fight curses if he's a chair?
So that's the thing, right? So he gets cursed to be a chair, right? And his job is to fight these, like, magic things that cause earthquakes. It's confusing. So he's trying to go do his job to go fight these things, and she's like, let me help you. It's kind of my fault you got turned into a chair. And he's like, no, I don't need your help. Go back home. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're a chair. The world is gonna end because these earthquakes are happening, and you can't do anything because you're a freaking chair. What are you gonna do?
Oh, what is he gonna do? Anyway.
He also, before we move on from this,
go ahead.
I want to say that he is a chair with 3 legs. He's missing his 4th leg.
Why would they do that?
They never explain how they say that, like, she lost the 4th leg at one point, but they never say how.
Does he have all 4 limbs when he turns back into a human?
Yeah.
What was the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Making him a chair with 3 legs? I don't know. It's funny to watch him run around, though, and he's like, on his 3 little legs.
Wait. Do the legs, like, move? Or does he like a chair that, like, hobbles?
No, they move. They move. They move, like, you know, like how a spider has like its body and its little legs, and it moves its little legs.
Like most things that have legs.
But it kind of looks like a spider, is what I'm saying, but like with 3 legs, and he also kind of looks like a little horse with 3 legs.
Mm-hmm. The more that you talk, the more visually confused I become.
I'll just Google a GIF. That's the only way that this is gonna make any sense. Is if I show you.
The next question I was gonna ask what kind of chair? Like, is it like a wooden chair?
It's
a wooden chair.
It's
a wooden chair.
It's specifically a child's chair because
that makes it weirder.
It was a memento that her mother was like a wood carver, and she made it for her birthday as a kid. And so it was like the last thing she had from her mother.
So his like soul gets trapped in the chair. I thought he became a chair.
No.
That was true. That was the second question I was going to ask.
No. So what happens is I'm
pressing this GIF. I want to see it.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it's gonna load, but oh, there we go. See, that's how he walks.
Okay, but his legs like don't move though. His legs stay straight, and he just like moves them at the joint.
There's other points where like he doesn't have like. It's weird. It's weird to explain. But so this cat, right? This cat is a talking cat. It also might be a god. It's really weird.
We are taking a hard left turn.
Yeah. But so they're talking to this cat, and he's sitting on the chair because he's got an injury. So he's sitting on the chair. She's bandaging him up, and this cat goes like, "You're in the way," and then he disappears, and the chair falls over, and that's how he becomes the chair. The cat curses him to become the chair.
Once again, the more you explain, the more confused I become.
This is never gonna make sense.
I gave this movie 4 stars. This movie was really good.
Great.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm glad the movie
this is her giving a kiss to the chair.
I think it's made so much weirder by the fact that it was a pre-existing chair that she had a pre-existing relationship with. That's
crazy.
Weird.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Anyways,
Anyway.
that's enough about about the chair.
Speaking of weird relationships, let's go back to Clueless.
Oh yeah, that's another weird relationship. But that's what I'm saying though. Like 3 days in a row, I watched movies that like aren't. None of them are like really that old. The oldest one is Clueless, which is the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all of them have weird relationships. Can we stop doing this, pretty please?
Mm-hmm.
I beg of you.
It's just one of those things where you have to be like, I like the movie. Mandatory acknowledgement. I do not condone
of this. Mm-hmm. Do not stop.
It's that Tyler the Creator sound. Random disclaimer, you know?
Yes, I do know that. Random disclaimer. I don't agree with step siblings or adult and child or kind of siblings in laws or whatever the frick we're doing.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Anyway. What else did I want to talk about with Clueless? Oh, I wanted to talk about the way that they adapt other love interests of Cher's. Or Emma's, depending on who you talk to. The reason her other relationships don't work out, the way that they map the plot onto those other characters and dynamics, I think is so interesting also.
Yeah.
Shout out to Elton for being an asshole in both.
Yeah.
In both.
They were like, how can we make this guy absolutely abhorrent? And then they did.
In Emma, it's like he's just so pick me silly. Like he's so
smarmy.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
This is the same actor.
Right in Zendaya's eye.
Yeah.
He's so cringe. Like, I don't know that there's a better way to describe it. He's just so cringe. Mm-hmm. And I cringe every time he was on screen. And I think it might be compounded by the fact that he's a clergyman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think if he was just a regular guy and was that cringe, I would be like, gross. But because I don't know what he is actually. Is he like a priest or something? He's a clergyman.
I wouldn't know.
Because he's also a clergyman and he's like making those faces, I'm like, stay away.
And he's always
take
like
several steps back. Yeah.
His little mouth is like,
He's like, stop.
Yeah, no one thinks you're cool.
Creepy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Be normal.
Be normal.
He's, because, like, the way that he's like, oh, wow, her dad is like, you should get this painting framed. He's like, give it to me. Like, so insistent, so quiet, so gently aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Yeah, and then him making the huge, elaborate frame also gives very much public proposal. Like, in the way that, like, putting a lot of pressure on somebody to acknowledge and appreciate your efforts when you don't actually know that that's something they would enjoy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
The one thing that I think that the Emma version of Elton has going for him is the fact that in the scene where she explains that she doesn't like him, she's trying to set him up with her friend, he's the one who gets out of the carriage and walks home. Whereas in Clueless, she gets out of the car, correct decision. Being in a car alone with that guy was not good. Get out of the car. Yeah. But then he just drives off and leaves her there.
Yeah. Well, he also assaults her.
Yes.
Which is, like, I don't want to say it's more realistic than Elton being the good guy and like taking one for the team.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I think, what a greatest fear would be, especially at the time. Cher is alone in a place that she is unfamiliar with. She has no transportation. She's assaulted, she's abandoned, she's robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah.
She loses her way to communicate.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happens in the book. We're only gonna talk about the movies.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
Maybe she's robbed at gunpoint also in the book. I don't
would
know.
I think we established that we never do research on this podcast when we had to Google if J. Robert Oppenheimer was dead.
From episode 1.
Shout out episode 1. Shout out episode 1.
Anyway, my parents thought that was really funny.
Oh, that I had to Google if J. Robert Oppenheimer. Your parents listened to us?
Yeah.
Shout out to Ellery's parents.
Yeah. Anyway, that scene in Clueless is also probably the darkest it gets. That's that's the most reality check Cher ever gets.
Because then what I love is that they in the grand scheme of everything that's going on in Clueless, you forget about it by the time she brings it back up again. Once Ty almost dies, she's like, "Well, when I was held at gunpoint," and everyone just sort of like moves on.
Passes.
Yeah, dude, it's like crazy.
That scene is insane though, because like I get everyone being like around Ty and talking about it because like Ty was in genuine danger being held over this railing head down towards the ground. Like that's genuinely dangerous. But then Cher goes, "When I was held at gunpoint," and no one cares.
Yeah.
What?
It's great.
Yeah, I think it's just an exaggeration of showing how little people care about
it's
her in
very,
this moment. But
it's very dramatized.
Yeah.
But it's also hilarious.
It's hilarious in hindsight, for sure, yeah. And then,
That's so funny.
the other guy, the other love interest she has, Churchill.
Yes.
Frank.
Frank and
Christian.
Frank
and Christian.
So real.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. I could only think about the scene where he and Cher get in his car and he's like, "Do you listen to Billie Holiday?" And Cher goes, "I love him. Billie Holiday is a woman. Was a woman. Billie Holiday is dead." You don't have to Google that. I know it for a fact. Billie Holiday was a woman. I think that's so funny.
So good. Oh.
Shout out to Cher for not knowing anything.
Yeah. And I love... I think it's really interesting, the translation between that character. Because it's like...
Being gay is just like being engaged.
Yeah, for sure.
Famously.
But I do understand the change though, because if they couldn't, they would.
They're teenagers.
They're teenagers.
You literally can't get out of this.
I can't. Well, because I was thinking about it, I was like, they can't just say he was previously engaged. But then I was like, well, they could say that he had a secret girlfriend, so I guess they could get away with that.
If you have my girlfriend in Canada.
Yeah.
My girlfriend in Canada.
That's kind of also just queer coding him. But I think if they wanted to go, they could be like, "Oh, he bought his girlfriend a promise ring or something like that."
Yeah.
Did they make him gay in Clueless because they had that line? I don't know if I have no idea if it's in the book, but there's a line in Emma where I think it's the brother says that he travels super far away to get his hair cut. And I was like, is this supposed to be, is the adaptation that he dresses well and then so they make him gay? I don't
maybe
I don't know
sorry.
No, you go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The first thing that Cher notices about Christian is how well dressed he is and how much effort he puts into his appearance, specifically in contrast with the way that other guys at her school dress. And the fact that he dresses very classically, in that James Dean kind of way.
Yeah.
Especially with his hair also. And the other boys are leaning very much into that sagging and beanies and all, and what Cher would consider sloppy.
Yeah, because we get that whole montage right
before. And she's like,
poorly,
high school boys are so
men
gross. Which is so funny to me. But anyway, the thing that originally attracts her to him is that he's put together. And so the fact that kind of is his only defining characteristic, besides the fact that Cher is into him and he can't be with her for some reason, they might have just been like, yeah, okay, make him gay. Which, it was the 90s. But he slays. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
And the more, I feel like Clueless did a pretty good job, not fantastic, but a pretty good job of appropriately diversifying its cast for the time.
Yeah.
They could have pretty easily gotten away with doing a very straight, very white adaptation of Emma in a high school. Kind of the way that, like, 10 Things gets away with that.
Yeah.
Because it's Jane Austen, and Jane Austen is so quintessentially upper middle class white British. But they didn't do that because it wasn't set in upper middle class white Britain in the Regency era. It's by changing the setting, it changed its cast, and I think it did a good job of that.
Yeah. And is Dion like...
Dion's a mix. She's not a straight adaptation of one character.
Okay, because I was like, is she supposed to be the sister? Because when I was watching Emma, I was like looking for a comparison, but I couldn't really find one. But I think that she is a good addition to, to Clueless, specifically so that Cher has, you know, someone, she's a soundboard for her ideas.
Yeah, she rounds out Cher.
Yeah, and for modern feminism, having her have tons of female friends.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Dee.
Shout out to Dee and Dee's ridiculous top hat that she wears in the first scene.
Well, Dee wears a lot of hats. It's so fun because as you go through the school year, and this reminds me of something else that I wanted to talk about. As you go through the school year, Cher and Dion dress very similarly, but Dion usually does more accessorizing. Cher does a like classic interpretation of something, and Dion will do an interpretation of that with like something extra, something fun. So when they're shopping, she's looking at hats. When they're putting the love notes in the cubbies, she's wearing a hat. She's always got a hat on.
But I'm
shout out. I love wearing hats.
I don't love wearing hats. I'm specifically talking about the hat that she wears.
Yeah,
with
it's crazy. I love it.
This lip that goes down.
Yeah,
It's great. I love it.
It's so plastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's so clearly plastic that I love it so much.
It's giving like a hat you would wear to a horse race.
Yes. It's Kentucky Derby.
It's Kentucky Derby. Yeah.
Wow.
Going back to weird relationships.
Oh no.
With Frank, the fact that he like Emma is his like step aunt.
It's something because again everybody's marrying in the family and this small society also doesn't have a lot of other rich families to marry into. So like everybody's really welcome to Jane Austen. It was of the time.
Yeah, because Emma's sister married that guy whose son is Frank.
Remember from the Christmas dinner? Is it a Christmas dinner?
It's a Christmas dinner.
It's a Christmas dinner, yeah.
There's too many people.
When they're all, like, snowed into the house.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Because when I, like, see that character in Emma, it's Callum Turner. And Callum Turner also plays Anatole in the War and Peace 2016 limited series. Yeah. And knowing what I know about Anatole from Natasha Perry, The Great Con of 1812, you know it's going to be a smarmy character, or at least in my brain, I'm like, you're keeping secrets.
Yeah.
And you're sleeping with your sister. Like, that is who I see him as.
You see him as someone who sleeps with his sister?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Callum Turner. This does not reflect directly on you.
I really appreciate your work. I love Boys in the Boat. I'm glad I'm glad you're doing that Austin Butler pilot show. Very excited for you in your career.
But the point being, I think all of the men in Cher and Emma's lives, who she sees as available, are actually quite bad for her. They don't give her the attention she wants or she needs. They wouldn't be able to round out her life or support her in the ways that she needs. Which is why I think the idea of her like true match, or somebody that she actually does get along with, being someone that was there the whole time that she didn't ever consider as a match, is so compelling.
Yeah.
Stop making the fact that she didn't consider them as a match them being family. Make it a different other reason.
Because what I like about it is that he also makes her better.
Yes.
Yeah.
They better each other.
Yeah. Aaron?
Thank you, teacher.
Of course.
I was saying this to you earlier as we were watching the end of Emma. she should have just gone with Harriet. Because she paints a picture of Harriet and then insists that she has to keep it. And Harriet's her dearest friend, whom there's a point where she's like, when she first rejects the guy for Harriet, and her brother's like, why did you do that? And she goes, maybe I just want to keep Harriet all for myself. And then they like practice dancing together alone in their room, and they're best friends. Just get with Harriet.
I think that's so, because I never even saw that interpretation. I feel like so much of Emma and Harriet's relationship, especially at the beginning, is Emma seeing Harriet as a little pet, like as a little thing that she can dress up and prance around like she's going to a dog show or something. And that's part of what Emma needs to grow out of. But I think that's also why I never saw that relationship as having the potential to be romantic, because it started out without Emma seeing her as a person.
Emma wants to change too much about Harriet.
I think for that match to be a good or sustainable thing. And Harriet's too pliable also. She'll let Emma do whatever she wants. So
I love Harriet. She's
so cute.
And like when we were watching,
part of the problem.
like when she's gonna go to Adam from Sex Education. I don't remember his name, but I know him as Adam from Sex Education.
This is also so weird, because, like, I spent, like, the first half of the movie also drawing, so I wasn't really looking at the screen, so the second half of the movie, I didn't really know what anybody looked like, and he showed up, and I was like, he looks so weird. Why are you going with him? His face is so weird.
His name is Robert and Emma.
Yes. So Robert goes up to, like, Harriet sees Robert, and she, like, looks, and then she, like, goes and runs up to him, and I'm like, you're so cute.
She's so cute.
Oh. And Mia Goth is so fantastic in that role. Like, she has just that wide smile and, like, her innocence, and, it's so cute. Because that, like, those two, the actress who plays Ty and Mia Goth, I feel like play the character. Brittany Murphy, yeah. They play the character in different ways, but it's still a very, like, accurate adaptation for sure.
Yeah.
Because I like that Ty is kind of like an ex-stoner. Like, I think that's so fun.
Ty also being from, I think she's from New York. She's from the East Coast, definitely. Moving to Beverly Hills. It's not necessarily that she's socially naive generally. She's just completely adapted to a different social sphere. She's very socially aware in the ways that, like, New York works, and that's where she gets her fashion sense and her attitude and her outlook. And then moving to a completely different atmosphere. That's why she's naive, not because she is...
No touching.
I'm being so gentle.
You can still hear it, I promise you.
It's because she's a fish out of water, not because she's entirely naive. Also.
Because I like I like that she goes to the school and immediately forms a connection with the skater.
Yeah.
And, like,
whose name I can't remember, and I
remember.
also will not bother looking up.
Yeah,
He's just the skater boy.
He's so weird because he looks like an adult, but then, like, he has, like, this, like, boyish haircut, and I'm like, something isn't meshing here. Something's weird. And it's probably because, like, everyone always is adults playing teens in these movies, you know, it happens a lot.
Probably.
Yeah. What were you saying about him? I cut off your story to talk about how weird he looks.
Cause, and then, like, you can see the constant thread of their connection throughout. Even when she's pursuing Elton. And, there's still, you can still see that connection between them, and then, you know, at the end, when he's gone through his whole character arc off screen, and she's done her whole character arc on screen.
I'm not a stoner anymore.
That's so funny.
Should I put this in kitchenware?
That's so real, though. Like, people,
where do you put it?
People did lose all their belongings.
Yeah.
No, she makes a good point about the skis.
Yeah.
Somebody might want to go skiing.
That's so true.
Yeah, somebody may have lost their skis, and they could use some new ones.
It might be their pastime hobby.
Yeah.
You don't know. I'm really tired.
I don't. Pastimes and hobbies that's a synonym.
It's the same thing? Yeah. That is the same thing.
They want to continue their hobbies.
They're hobbies. As opposed to
they want to continue
their pastimes.
They want to continue their hobbies on their hobby horse.
Okay.
Where did the horse come from?
It's a hobby horse, you know? Is that not
The Hobby Lobby's mascot is famously a horse.
You know, but isn't that another word for like a rocking horse?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, it's one of these things.
It's the horse head on a stick.
Oh,
yeah,
those are
hobby
so
horse.
cute.
I was right.
Horse.
Okay, this is a thing, and my brain didn't make it up. Thank God. I was so
That's so
worried.
Oh my god. Oh, but also, speaking of that, the way that Ty and the stoner and Harriet and Robert are like continually drawn to each other also mirrors the way that Emma and Knightley are continually drawn to one another. They're always going to each other like for advice and also for honest conversation that they know they're not going to get from anybody else. It was always there in the subtext. You can see it.
Yeah.
So I like that they have the conclusions to their stories show themselves early on in the same ways.
Yeah.
If you're paying attention, you'll see it.
And there's this, the painful picnic scene. Oh,
Talk about
brutal.
cringe.
Yeah. There isn't really an equivalent to that in Clueless, is there?
I think the equivalent to the picnic scene is when Cher goes out back and she sees Ty and Paul Rudd. Ty and Paul Rudd. Sorry about the table. And they're like hanging out.
Just making more work for me.
And Ty like lashes back out at her, and that's when she says the famous "You're a virgin who can't drive."
Yeah.
Because instead of just taking it at the picnic, she is outspoken and like confident enough in herself that she's gonna, dish it back out.
Yeah.
You're a virgin who can't drive.
Fun fact, in the bonus features for Clueless, Brittany Murphy did an interview a couple years later where she was like, fun fact, when I recorded that line, I was a virgin who couldn't drive. Which is so funny.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brittany Murphy. Yeah, but anyway. So I think that's also something that they changed, is there's Emma kind of doesn't ever face that direct challenge from anybody that she's with, because they're all too polite and like mild-mannered to fight her on anything that she says, whereas people like Dion and Ty aren't gonna take it sitting down.
I keep thinking you're saying like Dijon, like the mustard.
No.
That's not
It's
right.
Dion, like Dionne Warwick.
Oh, okay.
Like Cher, like, because they're both named after. This is a line in the movie.
They're both named after singers. Yeah.
Singers who now do infomercials.
Yeah.
Clueless is so funny.
It's so good. It's so clever.
It's so clever. Both movies are so clever.
But particularly with Clueless adapting the humor to
modern
to
sensibilities.
the 90s,
To modern sense and sensibilities.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I do have
Jane
one
Austen
final thought
episode.
on the way that they do the time periods also. Because Emma does it with these supers. It'll tell you spring, summer, winter. It starts in summer. Summer, fall, winter, spring. And the way that Clueless does it is they just map it onto a school year.
Yeah.
And so then you get, instead of the Christmas dinner, you get a Christmas party in the hills. And the fashion also changes to reflect changing weather and changing color palettes as well. You'll see them dress in darker colors during the autumn and the winter, and then in lighter colors when it's spring again. That's so clever. You don't have to do any legwork to tell us what time of year it is, because it's a school year.
Yeah.
That's so smart. Ugh.
And her getting her report card at that point, and then needing to negotiate her way out of it. Cher is so smart.
Cher is so smart.
Cher is very smart.
And Emma is also so smart. I think they're both indicative of people who have so much intelligence and nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to get that kind of, especially Emma doesn't get like a traditional schooling. She could have been like Cher gets to be, someone who could become a lawyer.
Yeah.
So
Cher
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 becomes a lawyer, right?
Someone get on the fanfic where Cher becomes a lawyer and works under Elle Woods.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just whoa.
Did I blow your mind?
Yeah,
Hell
that's
yeah.
crazy.
I
That
maybe-
was made for me specifically.
Yeah,
I
Cher's
watch
so
Legally
Elvis.
Blonde before every finals season. That's maybe I get on that fanfic.
I may be exhausted, but I still make good points every
Yeah.
once in a while.
But because of that, because they have and Cher's father says this, I think, also directly to her, that she's directionless. She has nowhere to put this intelligence. And the determination also. Emma gets none of that. Emma gets absolutely no direction, no guidance, no outlet. And so she stoops to using people as chess pieces because she can't be intelligent in any other way. She has to be Machiavellian. It's crazy. Talk about the way that their culture and their society shaped them and gave them the characteristics that it values in men and devalues in women, and the way that the only outlet they have contributes to the demonization of women. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? No. Emma doesn't get to be smart. She gets to be manipulative. And because she can't be smart, because she is manipulative, she fulfills the idea that women are catty. Think about that.
What?
Yeah.
I can't say that all in a coherent way again. You're just gonna have to listen to the episode.
I mean, I'm gonna have to edit it. That's my job.
There was a point I was gonna make along with it.
Yeah,
and I feel like putting it specifically in high school, because in Emma, she's in her, like, she's 21, I believe. And so aging her down to be 15, 16, however old she is.
I think she's 15 because she's getting her learner's permit.
Yeah. Having her be in high school, it creates, like, a much more confined environment and really feeds into particularly the stereotype that high school girls are very hierarchical and
vain also.
And vain, yeah. And that all their hobbies are frivolous, and she only shops, and she only watches cartoons. Whereas
what's wrong with watching cartoons?
No, that's the point. That is the point.
Is that is like, you watch cartoons and not the news.
Yeah, but Cher, especially at the end, disproves all of those assumptions. She gets to shop and watch cartoons and still be smart and still be a community organizer. She gets to fulfill all of her potential. And I think, it's so good. It's so good.
It's so smart.
Yeah. Which is kind of why it's so frustrating that she dates her stepbrother. The movie is so good. The movie could be absolutely phenomenal. It could continue to age beautifully, but she has to kiss her stepbrother.
I mean, if your stepbrother's Paul Rudd. I'm joking.
If that doesn't end up on the cutting room floor. I don't even know what to say about that. How do we
move on?
How do we, for legal reasons, don't kiss your stepbrother.
For legal reasons, don't kiss your stepbrother, and for legal reasons, don't kiss Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I feel like that's also probably a good thing.
Yeah. Don't kiss your stepbrother, don't kiss Paul Rudd. You can kiss someone who isn't your stepbrother or Paul Rudd.
Who consents to it.
Yep.
Who consents to it.
Don't be Elton. That's gross.
Also,
that's gross.
Is Paul Rudd married?
I have no clue.
If Paul Rudd is married and has a partner, a wife, then Paul Rudd's wife can kiss Paul Rudd. That's fine.
Paul Rudd's wife, if you're listening.
If you exist. We
give you permission to kiss Paul Rudd. saying such meaningful things like a minute ago.
That's the podcast.
Welcome to Double
Welcome
Feature.
to Double Feature.
That's why it's called double feature, because you get one feature that's like, you get one moment that's like, why is so
That's why it's called double feature, because you get two things.
Two things happen, at least.
You get one serious, meaningful thing and one stupid thing. And the stupid thing is usually probably me.
I don't know. Without you today, we wouldn't have learned what a hobby horse is.
Yeah, there
You're
you
so
go.
right. I didn't make up hobby horse. It's real.
Hobby horses are real. That's so true.
Everyone go do a hobby on your hobby horse. Good night, everybody.
I think I've wrapped up everything
I'm
that
gonna
I
go to
want to
sleep
say.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Good night. Good night.
Erin is on the ground.
Ooh.
Okay, well,
Well,
I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, I think that's the end of that.